I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different, the stranger than. I'm an autism awareness angel. It's good, cause I'm cool with the unique behavior. I'm an autism awareness angel. Will you accept me? Cause I accept you. I'm an autism awareness angel, cause the view from the spectrum is a better point of view. The question at hand, are you aware of...
Welcome back to the continuation and finale of our special two-part podcast. Happy Autism Awareness Day and Light It Up Blue.
We're really excited about some of those groups and support groups that you mentioned. One that comes to mind when we were speaking about single moms is we're doing a tremendous program with the YWCA, and nobody does it better than the YWCA and Janet Austin, and they've had some single mother programs in existence for a long time, and so we're working with them on one for single mothers with autism and related disorders, because often they will have unique challenges to single moms that don't have a child with special needs. So there's a tremendous amount of collaboration that we're doing with the community, and very proud of that.
Oh, you should be.
I erred in earlier when I mentioned the process. I erred in mentioning the tremendous group of self-advocates who've been involved. So when you talk about the Pokemon group as an example, big shout out to our buddy Lucas Gates, who deserves all the props. Lucas is a great ambassador, as many of the other young people that we're working with, and helping us understand some of the areas that they could benefit from. So we're open for ideas. So certainly we've got some, but we'd love to hear even more. So.
And that's fantastic. And I know Lucas Gates was a past member of Autism 30. So if any of you want to listen to his podcast, you can certainly find his podcast on our site as well. And what annual events will take place?
We're really excited about it. It feels like, a house that you just want to keep open all the time is the Autism Speaks Walk in British Columbia will be an annual event as its home base now here at the Pacific Autism Family Network and Good Life Fitness Hub. So we're very excited about welcoming them every year for that. We had a wonderful holiday party over the December period, and a Santa Claus and a sensory Santa Claus, and really making these events for our individuals across the spectrum. So some kids are great with loud bands and lots of excitement, and others have meltdowns on that type of thing and need lots of space and lots of quiet. So we're really about making the event for everybody.
Yes.
And then all of the celebrations that we have annually. Mother's Day, Sergio, you're going to be throwing one here, so you know now, for Mother's Day, and also for a lot of our single moms, So very excited about the different things that we can be doing, as well as we have our fundraising opportunities. A lot of them we're doing specifically for different fund and need and different needs in the center. So, for example, our autism, our fashion blooms for Pacific Autism will be coming up shortly in April, Autism Awareness Month. And of course, World Autism Awareness Day, we're going to have all kinds of announcements on April 2nd and throughout the month as well. But for our fashion blooms for autism, we'll be concentrating on building out our capacity throughout British Columbia and really concentrating on the rural regions and people that are wanting to help and companies wanting to help. We have our Women's Media Famous Non-Golfers Classic. If you can golf, you can't come. And we're concentrating a lot on vocational opportunities, funding in those different types of fundraisers as well. So really wanting to build out the Go Group program that Sergio was mentioning. And so if there's any donors out there that want to help some individuals get to work, we're ready.
Fantastic. And how do you find out about these wonderful upcoming events and workshops and activities that take place?
We have a very large following on Facebook. I think it's over 20-something thousand members now. And so Facebook is a really good source. We have an e-blast that goes out to our members, and we're just announcing actually on your podcast here for the first time is that we'll be launching our membership to our family, to our Pacific Autism Network family. And so it will be a $20 annual fee, but we really want to stress that if a family or individual is not able to put forth that $20, is that our foundation is happy to cover that.
Which is wonderful.
And so we really want to build out our membership, build out our family.
And that's great. And I think that's wonderful news. And if you are interested, you can find all of the Facebook details on our webpage as well.
Wonderful.
And what is the philosophy of the Pacific Autism Family Network?
Well, I guess as an overarching philosophy, the foundation and the society which operate this building have a mission and vision statement, and it's very clear. We intend to ensure that BC is the best place in the world for a family and an individual living with autism, and that's our goal. So, just defining what that is, that's a bit of the challenge. But as we define it, as we get input as to what those challenges are, figuring out how to make it the best, having our eyes open to what's going on in the world, being able to learn and innovate so that we create an opportunity for families with these challenges to benefit. I think the greatest, I always talk about for me, the greatest strength of this endeavor, I think, is the water cooler opportunity, the fact that we're bringing the best of the best together, and we'll have conversations about how we reach people, how we engage people, how we support those people. That's building that will lead us to be the very best. So that's our main goal.
And that's wonderful. Now, for those of you that are just listening to us and haven't been fortunate enough to visit this wonderful building, can you tell us about the amazing architectural features that accommodate our community members here?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, I think. Yeah,
there certainly are.
Again, our network intends to build spokes around the province, which will hopefully have some of the same, be informed by some of the same practices. But we were unique here that we were building, a purpose-built building, and so we could define what we wanted it to be. And what the community said is, look, we can't build a place where only individuals with autism can come. It needs to be a place that teaches them how to interact and be in all of our community. But there are certain challenges for families that maybe people don't understand, and the sensory challenges for many of our kids are profound. So
yes.
Trying to deal with some of those, like the fact that you walk into a bathroom and there is only a hand blower, this it can mean families can't come here. So
yes.
We predominantly don't have hand blowers. We have some where if you want to teach a child how to be around a room with a hand blower, you can use one of those, but you can also use those that don't have hand blowers.
And I know my son has an issue with hand blowers as well. So
yeah, they're scary.
Yes.
So what we did, I can maybe tell you about some of it. I guess one of the unique features in this building, of course, is our IT network. I mean, this building is fully wired. It's built to a LEED standard. So all of it is controlled through this IT network. Then we have a system of both WebEx and streaming capacity, so we can connect to our communities. We have a mechanical system that's incredibly unique. This floor has radiant heating throughout it, so it's in-floor heating, but it's a step further. It's one of only a handful of buildings in the entire province that has in-floor cooling. Now, sounds cool, but the real advantage here is that what it means is that our ventilation system doesn't require big fans, big blowers, etc. So there's almost no noise.
Yes.
It's an incredibly acoustically sound building, which makes it a very calm place from a sensory perspective. All of our lighting, where possible, is LED, no fluorescent flicker or hum. So we've tried to bring those things into it. It's also, I think from my perspective, it's a very calm, bright, and inviting place.
It certainly is.
Yeah, it's very peaceful. So, and we specifically have designed lots of nooks and crannies where individuals needing some time, needing a break, can benefit from that, or even needing privacy, solid sealed rooms with good acoustical ability, so you can really have that break and not worry. Families don't need to worry. It's traumatic enough to come out in public. You should be comfortable. Our goal is that anybody walking in here says this is their place. And
absolutely. And I think just walking in here is amazing because of the fact that you did put all of that effort and knowledge of what you know about people with autism in the radiant flooring where it is quiet and peaceful. Walking around the building, you see wonderful artwork on the wall. You see the color palette that you chose. How did you choose the inside decor and design, and who's responsible for the lovely artwork on the wall?
Again, we were informed by a great many people, including a group of self-advocates who were we're really good at telling us, what worked. So we have a lot of large graphics that kind of direct people. The washrooms have a toilet on them. It's clear what that's for, right? It's
Yes.
so that's that was informed by the community that helped us design all of this. Marika from Rock Paper Square, our interior designer, is fantastic and did a great job of capturing the image we wanted. NSDA architects who worked on this project for 6-7 years, amazing people, and deserve a lot of credit for what this building is. The murals that are in this place were done by Erica and Maddie Phillips, great friends of our family that did a couple of beautiful art pieces. And I can tell you, one of the goals we have in a spoke that we're opening soon is to replicate some of that. So even the murals, we will create them into vinyls and apply them into those spokes so that we carry on. And I may say, I might bring up too, one of the things we're very proud of is our new imaging. And if you haven't seen our logo, and I'm sure it'll be on your webpage, the PAFN has a new logo. We've taken the puzzle piece and replaced it with what is a paper airplane. It has the puzzle piece just in the wing of that paper airplane, and we think it speaks to the unique journey that we're on, and the fact that we can help it on its path. We can assist it in making its movement. So we speak to that throughout the building, is this idea of the of taking flight and soaring.
And it's lovely featured when you're walking in.
Our mobile.
Yes. I think it's really beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And how is the autism community consulted throughout the process?
Again, those groups we talked about, the advisory group, the steering committees, the self-advocate group that helped to actually choose which images, what worked, how it spoke to them. So they were, a building committee that was very involved in all of these decisions.
And you spoke about the specialty rooms and location and what they can be used for. How do you have to join a specific club or program to have access to the Pacific Autism Family Network, or can everyone just join or visit?
Well, we encourage people to visit. I mean, we are the building's open. We're here. We give tours, I think, regularly to show people the building itself. A lot of our programs will be run by providers, and those providers, of course, you can contact them and get information. If you wanted to attend one of the therapy areas, you would apply to go to that therapy area and pay if that's the case. That service provider, that's not what we as a center do. But otherwise, anybody can access the building. The libraries, our entrepreneurial innovation center or gift store, which is a great opportunity for individuals on the spectrum to sell their wares and come in and visit those areas. But anybody's welcome here. Wendy mentioned it earlier that autism's in our name, but having a diagnosis of autism is probably only a requirement if you're wanting to access Autism Funding Unit dollars in order to attend a specific program. But if there's a program here that doesn't require that funding and you can benefit from it, you're welcome here. You don't need any diagnosis, and we welcome all people in our community who feel that they might benefit from being involved in this inclusive, accepting community. Come on down.
and that's great news. And about research, will there be autism research at the Pacific Autism Family Network? And will the international community be involved? And how will this work?
Yeah, first and foremost, as a center of excellence, research is an important part of this. We have a research arm called Inform, which you can read about on our website. And, interesting, the genesis of the idea of Inform came from the idea, our own experience, Wendy and I, having lived this journey of autism. Our son and his diagnosis has informed research over the last 20 years. We've tried many different therapies. We've spoken to many different experts, and all of them have been informed by the journey that we took. Yet in many ways, the therapy that we provide our son today is the exact same therapy that we provided him 17, 20 years ago, which leads me to wonder, while we're informing research, when does research start informing us?
That's a very good question.
And this is a challenge that we've been struggling with as we talk about our research agenda and what the purpose of Inform is. Inform is to create an environment where researchers and families are interacting to determine what are the priorities for us as a community, to determine what it is that we need help with now.
Yes.
To stop talking and start doing, which is really what we need to do for our families.
And I absolutely concur.
And that's one of the reasons that we're so ecstatic to have Dr. Suzanne Lewis join our team, is she's a real believer in applied research and a real believer in helping families with the tremendous amount of decades of excellent research that has been done, but how does that apply to our families now? We're also very excited to be working with a colleague of hers that they do a lot of items together. It's Dr. Mary Connolly from Children's Hospital, and she's a specialist in epilepsy and seizures, and over 30% of individuals that have autism experience seizures at some point in their life.
Yes.
And they're a pretty scary thing. It's something that we have, unfortunately, have some experience in now, and experiencing it from a family perspective now, we're able to share with other families the mistakes that we made and the things that, if you know that 30% is a high chance, is that a family can be prepared for that. We're also very excited to be working with a tremendous group at 911 and the BC Paramedic Association.
Wonderful.
And we'll be doing a formal presentation with them shortly to advise families on things that they can prepare for if, goodness forbid, that happens.
Absolutely.
I'm putting my hand up. I just wanted to add about Inform. I want to make sure that we credit an amazing group of academic leaders who have been involved with Inform for the last couple of years, who have helped us on this journey. I mean, we've created an asset map of resources in British Columbia. We've understood and defined some of the gaps. We're working with a group out of Emily Carr University, their health design people, at talking about what does informing families look like. So we're putting in place, with the help of these academic leaders, a program that we think will start a more effective dialogue around research. And I can tell you, we have the attention of international communities. So we are speaking to people on international levels about our approach and what we have planned. So we're very, very excited. And what it's about is informing and interacting families into this research question. So watch in the future for a new clinical database that will be established here at the center.
Wonderful.
Which will allow families, hopefully, a first step towards personal health recording for families, a way for them to access and interact, a way for them to inform research, a way for them to get that information from research. So we're very excited about what the future holds around our information piece.
Now, I've heard you mention the word spokes throughout our podcast, and other cities that you plan on helping. Can you tell us a bit about spokes?
Sure. Again, we think it's one of the innovations that we're bringing to this discussion is the creation of this hub and spoke network. The biggest challenge in our province, one that's partially created by the environment of autism that we live in. I mean, we have, as many of your listeners will understand, in our jurisdiction, we have funding available from the provincial government to access support for our children.
Yes.
What happens as a result of that is, of course, you create a marketplace, and markets certainly excel where there's enough people to support a market. So if you live in the Lower Mainland and you need to access resources, there's lots of places for you to spend your money.
Yes.
And many programs specifically designed around the value of the money that you receive. So, it's funny that all these programs cost $22,000 because that's what you get from the government. But
that's very true.
What it also means is that in other communities, specifically the north or the interior of our province, it isn't as big a market. And we aren't as effective in reaching those areas. So if you live in Pouce-Coupe, BC, or any other community, you're going to have to use your dollars to fly somebody in to provide support. And I can tell you that $22,000, as we discussed earlier, will not go very far. So finding ways to bridge that problem, to make it a more equitable playing field, led us to this idea of creating these spokes. And they're the first step, of course, because if we get into Prince George, we've not serviced the north of BC. Prince George is the middle of BC, so
yes.
I mean it's a huge province, but it is a process, and so this is where we'll start in those communities. We will create in 8 communities in BC. We'll create a microcosm of what is this center. So it'll be a space. 25 to 3,000 square feet, which might have a therapy component if that's what the community wants, and there's partners there who can run therapy. It'll have a library corner. It'll have a resource center. So all of the things I listed as being part of the center would also be in a spoke community and accessible to those families, including an employee in those, a spoke manager, who will help families navigate the resources that we have available for them and connect them with information services or treatment services, etc. And then the big goal is to use those spokes as opportunities to build capacity. So very simply, as an example, a program to provide supervision for BIs in an area like Prince George, where we believe in 5 years we could take present lack of those BCBAs and create 5 or 25 of them in a very short period of time. It costs money,
yes.
but it, when you do it through something like our network, we should be able to do it in a cost-effective means and help build capacity in that community, because there are wonderful people in those communities, but by and large, if they want their supervision, if they want to be able to access the funding, if they want to be able to offer good services, they have to leave those communities to travel to an urban center to get their training. So we're taking the 25-year-old individuals out of northern communities and bringing them to Vancouver, and then somehow expecting after they spend a couple of years here, fall in love and with both the city and maybe an individual, then they're going to go back to that northern community. Unfortunately, that in many cases isn't the way it works. So we need to build that capacity in those communities, which is what the spokes are intended to do.
And you work in collaboration with the communities that you'll be locating.
Oh, absolutely. And we find that that's the power that comes from the community consultations that we've done, is that it draws the people together, even though they live in a small town and they say, we know each other, but all of a sudden, I didn't know your son had autism. Why didn't you say anything? Well, there's been no reason to say anything before because there's been no help. So all of a sudden they're asking and sharing with one another, where do you get your hair cut? Is that, what happened? Why isn't he at school? Is that, oh, well, I have this behaviorist now. Or, they start to collaborate their finances. They collaborate everything.
Yes.
And that's like the water cooler moments. That's what we found has been the real power of gathering the communities and the spokes.
That's very true. And I would suggest that parents out there, if you are living in isolation, I think that suggestion is wonderful, to get out there and meet other people who are in your same situation.
Yeah. And if they're saying, okay, well, we don't know where to start, this is where it comes back to our charity of the one phone number, one website, a place to start.
Absolutely.
And, we have a lot of moms and family members that are working on our front lines, being tremendous ambassadors, and that they understand they get the magic it.
And there are great organizations around this province that are looking for that support. I mean, they're doing great work. I'm always amazed. I've had the pleasure of visiting as well the CDC in Williams Lake, and Nancy Gale and her team there. They're doing amazing work with no support. So, hopefully we're working on ways that we can help support them, help provide them, whether it's technology or connection. I mean, those are the kind of communities we're desperate to connect with. And but you're right. We're not looking to open something in a community that people don't want. So in the communities we're speaking to, we have strong on-the-ground leadership for those spokes, because it's their spoke, it's not ours. And we will build what they want, not what we want. It matters on the specific community and what their need is.
Which is great news to the communities
of
out
course.
there. And I know you mentioned that, but are there other future plans for the Pacific Autism Network?
Well, if he builds another center, he'll be divorced. It's really to continue the work that we've done. We certainly have, in a way, we feel like we've just started. And we really want to concentrate on serving British Columbia, and we have a lot of work to do on our hub and spokes model. But we're already connected to amazing autism organizations across Canada. And we're already being called the hub here in Richmond for Canada.
Oh, there's no question.
And there are some smaller autism organizations building sites across Canada, and we're definitely helping them with their plans and sharing the mistakes that we made and seeing how we can make things faster for them. We are very fortunate here in British Columbia because we do have tremendous support from not only the provincial government and our municipal governments, but also from a tremendous amount of different charitable causes, as well as academia. We really, and corporations for the vocational programs, we really have managed to, over a decade, gather a lot of folks to work on one mission, one cause.
And I know it's really obvious that you're passionate about what you're doing here, but what do you love about your work and the fact that you created this wonderful charity?
Well, it was interesting. When we had our grand opening, it was tremendous. I mean, we received so much credit for this, and somewhat, and I don't mean to be shy about it, but the credit belongs to a huge group of people. This was a real community endeavor. We're very proud of what we've done, but by the same token, the real value comes from watching the effect we've had on people. Wendy spoke about the crying mom in the lobby. I mean, that is unfortunately not uncommon.
No, it's not.
I often, whenever I walk in the place, I remember the group of self-advocates that walked through here just as we were nearing completion, and them saying, this is my home. This is my place. This is, now I belong here. And
absolutely.
Yeah, again, I understand that people will say, well, they need to belong everywhere. That's the case. And we, there's no, I always have this problem with the idea that we're building something that is for people with autism. What we're looking for is meaningful interaction and inclusion in every aspect, and this is to be a bridge to that, and we hope to play a role in making it an opportunity for our kids throughout every community in this province, that they feel that this is my home, I'm home, I can be me here. But that's the great joy that we get from it, is those faces and those interactions.
What I want to achieve out of our work that we do with our charity is to put the hope back into people's lives when we feel desperate. We're really fortunate in Canada. Not many of us feel desperate. And I think that families that live with individuals with autism get to the point of many different reasons that they feel desperate. And feeling desperate is horrible.
And I think you've mentioned that key word. It is true. It is desperate.
Yeah. And so there are no cures yet. There are no answers that, are blanket statements that if you have this behavioral problem of X, you can do Y. And so that's where, if we build a really big network of families and supporters, then we can have people there that can provide some possible support and solutions along the way, and that families and individuals know that are dealing with autism that there is a phone number, a website, I'll keep saying it, that there will be a person on the other end. And again, that's what's happening in the spokes in the community. A parent often is identified as the person that can be on call 24/7.
Wonderful.
If somebody is needed in these desperate moments of despair. And also working with our amazing first responders, that they're understanding a lot more the challenges that our individuals have. And again, a lot of first responders with the prevalence of autism have children or grandchildren with autism themselves. So it's really becoming a prevalent challenge in our society that,
yes,
deserves the attention that people like you are giving it.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I agree with you. I think with the numbers of autism increasing in our society, awareness really does need to reach a broader scope, or I should say spoke, from your perspective. And I know I include myself in this next question because, and I've heard this repeatedly from others as well, are you aware that many people who have children with autism in the Lower Mainland have considered moving away out of the province, are now choosing to stay because of your wonderful charity and creation, and are grateful to you both? Which leads me to the following question. What impact do you hope this charity will make on the autism community in general, in British Columbia, in Canada, and internationally?
I really hope that we are able to share a lot of information with our community about autism and all its nuances and all the related disorders, so that our individuals are understood and accepted,
Yes,
and respected and integrated, and that is the norm in society, not the one-off.
absolutely.
I guess where I would take it is this conversation about families, and that I hope the dialogue or the conversation continues to focus on families first. We have throughout this great country, there is a lot of discourse around what we do for autism, and my personal belief is the time for talking about what we do next and what solutions are is over. We know what the problems are. Mm-hmm. We know the problems that our families face. They need support. They need financing to access treatment and services for their families.
Yes, certainly.
So if we have federal politicians listening, our plea to them on behalf of the families that we've spoken to, and I think on behalf of many, many families in our country is...
And including the Autism 30 team.
Yeah, I think the hope is that they understand that the time has come for action. 42 states in the United States understand that the treatment and support for families with dealing with autism and the individuals so affected should be covered under their medical programs. Canada needs to understand the same thing. We need to move towards what is a just society and make it just for these individuals and their families. We need to provide treatment support. We need to stop the discussions. The discussions are wonderful, and I commend all these researchers and people doing work around the big questions, but we need to support our families so that these tragic situations we've heard of throughout our country stop. And we are the greatest country in the world. Let's make this the greatest country in the world for individuals and families living with autism spectrum disorder. And we can do that by focusing on their needs.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think it's wonderful. And a question I ask all my guests is, what would you like the world to know about autism?
I can't remember who to credit with the saying, but when you've met a person with autism, you met one person with autism. So I think that in many ways is the most important message for the world. Our individuals are very, very unique, yet they are our sons and daughters, and they need our support as all of our sons and daughters do. So put aside the politics, put aside the debates around treatment protocols, put aside the economics, focus on the needs of our families. These people deserve meaningful, inclusive lives. And I want people in our country to understand that there may be a component of our population who isn't getting the support they need, and we should all be lobbying for them to get that support.
I agree completely, and I hope those of you out there listening, if you do want to help and get involved, that there are communities, especially this one, who would welcome your help. I just want to thank both of you for joining us today. I know that many of our listeners have been dying for us to create a podcast about you and what you've created here. And myself and the autism team are so grateful that you were able to share your valuable time with us here today.
Oh, thank you, and the tremendous work that you're doing, getting the word out there of that help is collaborated and come together, and we really appreciate you, Tally. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. The Pacific Autism Family Network was the most anticipated development for autism in the Lower Mainland of Vancouver and Western Canada, and many of you have asked for a podcast about it. We hope the wait and anticipation was worth it. We in the autism community and Autism 30 are so grateful and feel so fortunate to have this wonderful power couple located here, devoting themselves to help improving the lives of our community members and our families. They are changing the landscape of autism services, work, and research in the province, and we are certain will forever help the countless lives which autism has touched. If you would like to contact them or the Pacific Autism Family Network, all of their details will be on the Autism 30 website at autism30.com. Once again, this is Tally telling you to live in love.
Hey yo, I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different, the stranger than. I'm an autism awareness angel. It's good, cause I'm cool with the unique behavior. I'm an autism awareness angel. Will you accept me? Cause I accept you. I'm an autism awareness angel, cause a view from the spectrum is a better point